Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unlock Your Life Purpose Summit. Today's guest is the only person I know who's got a more fun last name than me, and that is Ron Cool. So, Ron is one of the most sought after executive entrepreneur coaches out there. He gets super duper 10x results for all his clients, and he is the CEO of Hindsight Hacking Media. And I'm super duper excited to have him here and have him tell us about how he found his life purpose. Ron?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been, I don't get nervous very often, but I've been excited
Yay!
about this summit. And I think anytime you could talk about your purpose and why you do what you do is a fun time.
And it's definitely so poignant right now. I know lots of people are out there starting to question themselves about whether or not they're living their purpose, or maybe it's just becoming really, really obvious that they have been living for the dollars or to, climb the ladder. And now it's really time to look into their heart and see what's God really has in store for them and make it happen. So hopefully you can share some wisdom on how they can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, before I get into my story, I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on right now. I think the world's on a polar shift is about to happen. I think people have had time to really think about what they're doing and if that's what they truly want to do or if
Mm-hmm.
what they're called to do. And, my story is, I would love to say it's unique, but I think a lot of people find themselves in a very similar situation. I would try different things and I would find myself being stuck at the exact same spot I always would get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I owned a couple restaurants, and then I just felt stuck and I wasn't satisfied. And
Yeah.
I kept wanting more and more and more. And what I found out, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that's God's way of putting the right people in front of you at the right times.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a couple of philosophies. One, life is too important to be stuck. And if you keep finding yourself getting stuck in similar situations, if it's a job, if it's a boss, and you go through this thing and you're stuck at the exact same situation, you haven't learned the lesson that you need to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
how I
yeah.
look at it. And that's where I found myself. I'm not going to go back really too far away, but I'm going to share when I was going through a divorce, and it wasn't a good situation. But I found that God had a purpose for something that I needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and so I love eagles. Okay,
Eagles.
eagles,
The
and this kind
birds.
of the birds, and I started seeing eagles
Oh,
like just flying around in the wild. And I was
wow.
like, God, what is going on? And so, I started going to church and I started seeing these eagles. Then I met my soon to be wife, and
Wow.
we really decided to, just get back into church and really understand that there's more to life than what we're doing. And God gives everybody a gift and the ability to do something. And if you choose to do it, that's different. So I'm going to talk about those coincidences. Okay.
Awesome.
So I had a mentor named Roger that I was, friends with for years and years and years. And his house, he had eagle pictures all over his house.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I just loved his eagles. Right. And I was like, these are so cool. And he would always bug me to go to church. And I'm like, I don't want to go to church. And then, my wife and I, we were like, hey, let's go to Roger's church. So we
Mm-hmm.
went to Roger's church.
Oh, wow.
And when we get there, we sit down and they have these two banners. And one is an eagle
Oh, wow.
on this image. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm supposed to be there. And it's Isaiah 40:31.
Oh, wow.
So those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on
Wow.
winds. like eagles, right? So I
So
told
it's like an omen. You're like,
yeah,
this is where I'm supposed to be.
yeah. So I told my wife, I go, okay, I feel, I feel good about it. And I was talking to Roger, and he goes, Ron, you're at my house all the time. I go, yeah, so what? He goes, all those eagle pictures has that verse on those pictures.
Every
And I go,
single one did, and you never noticed?
I never noticed it. And I go, there's
Wow.
no way, Roger. And he goes, yeah, they're on there. He goes, but you know what? God put Rachel in your life to bring you closer back to him.
Wow. That's
Okay.
powerful.
Yeah, and so we've done everything to, you know, getting into our Bible studies, really deep diving our devotionals.
Hmm.
And then, I'm going to kind of skip around and fast forward.
Yeah.
We wanted to have kids.
Hmm.
Okay. And since this was my second marriage and my wife's second marriage, she didn't have kids, and I had kids, but I had a vasectomy. So I'm going to get super real for a second. And the doctor,
Get real. That's what it's
yeah,
all about.
the doctor said you had a 40% chance of it
Hmm.
actually happening. But what's interesting is my wife and I talked about having kids. We were engaged. We dated for a year, engaged for a year, got married. And one day I woke up and I said, today's the day we have to go to the doctor.
Mm.
And she goes, why? I go, just got to go to the doctor and we're going to make this happen.
Wow.
The doctor said, if you would have come next week, I would have told you it's too far apart from when you have a vasectomy to the reversal time.
Oh, wow.
So again, not a coincidence. God was
Not a
like, hey,
coincidence at all.
right?
Hmm.
And I always told my wife that you're an amazing person and you will be an amazing mother. So God wants you to be a mother. So however this is going to work out is however it's going to work out.
Wow.
So we go, had a 40% chance, and you're supposed to go back and get everything checked. And I was like, no. I'm just going to have faith. God wants you to be a mother.
Hmm.
And a year later, we had our first daughter named Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
And now we have Phelan and Rogan. So we have three.
Wow. So you have three.
We have three.
So much for 40%.
It's crazy. You sit there and you look at them. I'll look at my children. I'm like, God, they shouldn't even be on the planet.
That's
right?
amazing.
But going through my life and going through pieces, it was more about me fighting my purpose and what I wanted in my goals, my timing, my learnings. Right. And I had to learn and shift to his timing, which isn't always my timing.
No, it's not, right?
Right. And what I'm supposed to learn to provide the impact that I'm called to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so when I sit there and I'm like, okay, what God abilities do I have that I can share and help with people? And the problem that I faced was some of the stuff just came easy to me. And I just felt it should come easy to everybody. And why would someone want/desire my help to do it? Right?
I can relate to that.
Yeah. So I sat there and, going, and now I'm going to go back to the divorce piece. And, I could have easily, anchored into the hopeless mindset. My ex used the kids as weapons, and it was ugly. But instead, I anchored myself onto his promises and not my problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And I understood that I had to surround myself with good friendships and good people that need to help me achieve what I'm trying to do to become a better person. And my wife was the key instrument in that. She truly does make me a better person. And we're just so blessed that we have 3 little kiddos that shouldn't be on the planet. But going back to fighting that purpose, there was a lot of things that, you know, I was, you know, climbing the corporate ladder, and, you know, it was successful. It just
Yeah.
wasn't fulfilling. Like
Yeah.
that just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I kept getting those nudges or little things. And we started this podcast called Hindsight Hacking. And I was going to church, and every time I was going to church, I'd call Corey and I was like, hey, they just talked about hindsight. How weird, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, hey, maybe we're on the right path. And then we would, you know, start talking about things we were doing. And then I would go to church, and there was a song about what we were doing. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, this is so cool, right?
wow.
And my wife's like, what's going on? I go, this is like, I'm supposed to be doing this. So as long as you're aware that there's signs that he's trying to talk to you, and if you can hear him, right,
Mm-hmm.
clarity and protect what you're seeing, and then you know, move forward in his time and not your time, and then actually do things for the right reason. You know, I think a lot of people, and I got stuck in this as well, where I wanted to do things to make money. How do I
Mm-hmm.
how do I make money? And guess what's going to happen? If you do things to make money, you won't make money.
Isn't that strange how that happens?
Right?
You're like, I'm doing this to make money. And it's like, why am I broke? What?
Right. Well, or you'll make money and you won't, like, money can buy happiness, but it's not fulfilling, right?
No.
You won't be fulfilled. And
Mm-mm.
what I found is I love serving people and helping people get to places that they never thought they would get to. And, you know, my clients, when I'm coaching them and helping them go through, you know, their goal settings and what they want, I learn so much from just listening and helping them. And
Mm-hmm.
I get more from our conversations than I feel I can give, even though they get a lot. But again, that goes back to those. It's you know, you know, I strategize stuff and I enjoy planning things. So
Yeah.
kind of fun. But that kind of led us down this path of, we wanted to develop, you know, I found Corey, who's my partner, and he and we both develop people and are very passionate about it. But we wanted to do it for the right reasons, and we didn't care really. I mean, yeah, we want to make money, but it was more about the end result for the client and what they
Mm.
can get out of it. And if we can help them get something 10x, then, you know, at some point that'll find something back to us. And that's kind of how we approach every single person we talk to.
That's awesome. That's really great. So, how would you feel like when you're guiding your clients, you know, and they're saying, well, I'm not really sure what my purpose is, but these are my goals, right?
Yeah.
How do you help them really hear that inner voice or that voice from God? Because, you know, there's a lot of people who say, oh, well, my goal is to do this and this and this, and this is what I want, and I'm going after it. But God might have different plans. So
Yeah. I
how do
think,
you help them really to find their purpose versus just what they think they want to do because of, you know, it looks really cool, or they
yeah.
heard it makes a lot of money and so they think that would be their purpose?
Well, I think they have to have clarity, right? So they have to really have clarity so they can, you know, understand what it is that God wants you to do. And you kind of know it. You know, it's hard to explain, but it,
Mm-hmm.
as you're talking and you're asking questions, you know, if you can deep dive why, at least
Mm-hmm.
times, on the why you're doing something, then, you know, it's pretty rooted. However, just because it's your why doesn't mean it's God's why or God's
Mm-hmm.
vision for you. That kind of starts coming by if you're in the Word and the verses start speaking to you. You know,
Yeah.
you have to seek His, I don't want to say approval, but you have to seek His guidance. You know, and what my wife and I found was, the more we got in the Word, the more we focused on the Word. And as we focused on the Word, the other stuff just started falling into place because, again, it was His timing. But nothing will ever present itself until you are ready. You know,
Yeah.
if it's a um, if it's a teacher that you're supposed to learn from, they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to come to you until you're ready. right? So
Yeah.
that goes back to those coincidences, and God puts the right people in your life at the right time. Um, if you look back in your life, you could probably pick out 3 or 4 turning points that someone was in there, or you learned something that probably didn't make a lot of sense on the trajectory you were on, but it changed your new trajectory. That was God's way of saying, hey, you're kind of going the wrong way.
Oh, I've definitely had multiple course corrections
Yeah, yeah.
in mine, and it's fun to look back. You talk about hindsight hacking being your business, and you look back at, I look back at things in my life where I was like, and it almost seems like not necessarily I was doing the wrong thing. It was just time to be like, okay, you learned what you were supposed to learn from this, and now
Right. And
you're out of it, whether you want to be out of it or not.
exactly. But the other piece is, there's a lot of Christians out there. They're like, hey, I'm just waiting for God to show me what to do. But you know what? It's kind of crazy. You have to take a step. If
Yeah.
you don't take the step, the door's wide open.
Yeah.
And I'll relate it to a funny meme that I saw around a little guy died, was in heaven, said, I've been praying for you to give me the winning lottery numbers, win the lottery for like every day my whole life. And he goes, right, you never bought a ticket.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you don't buy the ticket, what does it matter?
Right. If you do not like go towards what you're supposed to go to, and trust me, God said life would not be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So your place of promise is probably your greatest place of testing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So place of promise, greatest testing. And you have to be willing to go through that. And just remember, it is not a sprint.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. And if you're being tested and you're still passionate about it, then it's probably your purpose. And you're going on the right track, and you're just about to break through. But you have to make the decision to break through it. And if you don't make the decision to break through it, God can't do that for you. He can encourage you and give you all the courage, but you have to take that step. It's not going to just happen for you.
So what do you say to people who think like, well, it's because I've had all these obstacles, this must not be what God wants me to do?
Oh my God.
So how would you tell them to know, like, this is really God telling you to get out, or versus God's testing you because you have to push through?
That's a phenomenal question. Wow, that's hard. Okay, so I think you have to really understand what the voice is.
Mm-hmm.
God wants but what's best for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And frankly, the enemy could easily infiltrate that and tell you things that is not best for you. And you have to really understand and have a great relationship with God to be able to discern which is his voice and which one is not. And you know what? Sometimes what you're doing and you're hitting those walls, sometimes it is his way of saying, this is not what I have for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be you're not that far off and someone's trying to stop you. So you have to be, you have to have that relationship with God to be able to decide and discern which one is which.
Yeah. This is normal. That's normally the part that I'm like, okay, give me a sign. If I'm on the right track, give me at least like some little encouragement, right?
Right.
If not, shut the door.
Yeah.
Because that can be a dark place where you're just like, oh my God, like what is happening here?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing where, I will share, again, owning those restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
The outcome was money. I wasn't happy, but I was doing things that wasn't pleasing to the Lord. So it probably wasn't for the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to when Corey and I started this, we decided a portion of everything we do, we were going to donate.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And my biggest thing that we're going to do is we're actually helping a portable church get a building.
Nice.
Through course creation and funnels. And we're donating all of our services and we're just helping them because, we truly feel that God put us on this path to serve and give back, not only many people, but if we can help this church be able to do that, I mean, that checks exactly why we started what we wanted to do, was give back. And, and that's my church. So
that's so inspiring. So it's your church, as in you're the pastor of the church?
Nope,
okay.
No.
The one you attend. I'm like, wow, are you pastor too? Yeah. I didn't know that.
No, I'm not the pastor.
Wow, that's really great.
I go to that church, and it was funny because I was, I'm sitting there listening to the service and I'm taking notes, and I zoned out. Like, I don't even remember. And when I looked at my notes, I created the complete offer stack.
Wow.
To help them build this building. And, I went to Corey and I said, look, man, I don't know why this happened, but I believe we're supposed to do this. Wow. So we actually met with the pastor and his wife. And this is what we want to do. So we're going to do it, and we're just going to gift it to the church. And I'm not going to promise what we're going to be able to do, but I truly feel inside that it will cover the cost of the building.
That's amazing.
So I'm excited about it. And, God will help us see it through, but everything we've been trying to do, I know I'm on the right track because the signs are there. So you have to be aware.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You have to see it. You have to have clarity of what your vision is. And let me be very clear. It's not your vision. It's his vision for you.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And then they live with a sense of urgency around it. Right? So if you've been given this gift and this vision, then you have to protect it and run. Right? And you'll notice things will start clicking, or things will start falling into place. Or like when I'm at church and I'm like, hey, this is where it's going. Like, there's zero reason I should have been able to write that offer stack, because I don't do that. Like, that is not my thing. And I went from, I had the whole offer stack written out. And when we approached it to her and, his wife, she goes, I was looking at these. I didn't understand them. I'm all in.
Wow.
Right. So again, God puts the right people in the right places to help for the right reasons at the right time.
And God can even help you write an offer stack if you don't even know how to write one.
It just came, right? Like, and it's funny because there's like, I was just looking at those notes for this call, and I was just like, it's crazy that came up. And I know we will be able to help them.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Wow. So what advice did you have for somebody sitting at home watching this interview and just saying, okay, I've worked a corporate job my whole life so that I could put get the house and the cars and the stuff for the kids and the Xboxes and all that. And I know in my heart I'm not living my purpose, but I have no idea how to find it. This guy's talking about God talking to him. I don't know if God's talked to me before. Like, what do I do? How do I start, Ron? What would you tell him?
Well, first off, be open, right? Be open. Use the Bible. I don't care if it's an app on your phone. Do a daily devotional, or if you like the pages, but give yourself time to be still, to read and pray. Read and pray. And I promise, if you do that consistently and you ask, let my purpose be your purpose, and let my vision be the vision you have for me.
That's so good.
You will be able to start making those steps. Now, don't go quit your job. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Don't go quit your job, but start something.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what it is that is your passion and start it on the side. And, what will happen is that side thing will start growing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and feed it, water it, feed it, water it. And then pretty soon you have options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then those options, you have choices. I will tell you another thing that, again, no coincidences. I've always been a new car guy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Me too.
yeah, and I was blessed because my wife is not that. Like
Uh-huh.
I am the shopper in the family. She's not. Like I can go to the
Mm-hmm.
mall and shop all day, and I can buy things. Like that's not my wife.
Yeah.
So she was fine with. She had an '85 Camry, and I
Mm.
actually bought her first new car, like together when we were.
Wow.
And so when we were together, she made a comment. She goes, since I've known you, you've had like 7 cars. I go, yeah, new cars, right? and
Been guilty of that.
right, exactly. But one day I came home and I said, we have to sell our cars, and we're just gonna get new or used cars with no payments. And she goes, why? That's not you. I go, I just have a feeling that's what we have to do.
Mm.
Right. So we found a SUV. We found the SUV, bought the SUV, then we sold my new car. So we bought it
Mm-hmm.
and had faith that God was wanting us to reduce our debt,
Yes.
out of debt. And so we bought and paid off this SUV before we really had the money to do it. And literally a week later, we sold the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we got rid of one payment.
Nice.
Then I was looking for a car for my wife, and I found one, and it was weird because I found it. It was a 2008 Lexus ES, really low miles, really nice car for like hardly anything. And I'm like, what is going on? And I realized it was under the lawn mowing section up
Uh-huh.
on Craigslist. So I called the guy and I go, hey, can I come look at the car? And he goes, sure. And so I get to his house, and he's the first owner. He has a file on it like this thick.
Wow.
And he goes, no one's come to look at it. I go, yeah, I wonder why. Probably because you have it in lawnmowers, but that's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
So I called my wife. I go, hey, I think I found the car that we want to buy you. And she goes, that would pretty much wipe out the savings.
Mm-hmm.
And we still had this car payment. And no one was biting on this car.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, honey, there's zero way I should have found this car.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, God is at work here. And we have to have faith that we're going to sell this car. So we're going to do it. She goes, okay. So we bought this car. 2 weeks later, we sold her car
Mm-hmm.
for exactly what we wanted.
Wow.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
But what that did is that made it so we had zero debt,
Mm-hmm.
no credit card debt. All we had was our house.
Wow.
And once you only have a house payment and a couple other pieces,
Mm-hmm.
you can make different choices on your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, our
Especially
lifestyle,
if the house isn't ridiculous.
right. But we didn't drastically change our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
We just got rid of the unnecessary thing that I felt was important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And that wasn't something I needed.
No.
And I think it still shocks her to this day that, I went away from having new cars. Now it doesn't mean I don't want a new car.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I could have a brand new car with no car payment, I would take a new car.
Yeah, of
But,
course.
I've learned there's something to be said of not having debt
Yeah.
and getting yourself out of that debt and really being able to follow your passions and your purpose because you have options to do so. Where
Yeah.
if you're a slave to money and if you're a slave to debt, you can't. And you could easily fall into that hopeless mindset.
Yeah, you can say, I've got a bazillion payments. There's no way that I could ever do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what will happen is you'll be on a porch 60 years from now and
Mhm.
say, gosh, I wish I would have. And
Yeah.
I don't want to live on the wish you would have.
No.
You know, that's not something that I want to look back and have regrets. You know, and frankly, I truly feel if you live that way, you teach your kids to live that way.
Yeah, that's true because you're the example that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. And my wife is much better with money than me. So it's not me. But I will tell you, she makes me a better person.
That's great. That's important. That's so
Yeah.
important. You have to be the team and you have to be able to, one person has to be able to lift the other up when the other person isn't
Yeah.
needs it. So that's
Well,
awesome.
that's the other piece, you know. The other thing I would tell people is if your goals also don't align with your spouse,
Hmm.
you better have a conversation. Because I remember talking with my wife when our third child was about to be born,
Hmm.
right? And she goes, "Hey, do we have time for this? Do we have the money to do this?" Like, you know, and I said, "Well, what if there was a different way to do it?" And I said, "Look, I truly feel I am called to do this."
Hmm.
And she goes, "If you feel that way, I will support you."
That's powerful.
Right? So not only did I feel God was pushing me, but my wife knows me well enough that
Hmm.
if if I say or ask or do something, there's probably a reason that I'm being pulled to do it. You know, so have alignment, right?
Yeah.
Clarity, speak your vision into existence, and then live
Hmm.
with that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
You know, what if you don't? This is the other thing. What if you don't do what your purpose is? What if
Yeah.
you don't do what your God given purpose is? Who will you not impact?
Mm.
Right? So,
Yeah.
who will not get your gift of what you're trying to do because you were afraid, you were scared, you didn't take that step, you made excuses, whatever it was? Who will not have the impact they were supposed to have because you didn't start?
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
So that's what I try to talk to people about, but
Hmm.
you have to have all three of those things. You have to be aligned with what God wants you to be aligned with. You have to have the right people around you. You know,
Yeah.
so going back to fighting with my goals and my timing, my my past life wasn't pleasing, and what I was, no matter what I did to try to fight for what I wanted, it just wasn't the direction that he wanted me to go. And
Yeah.
it took some major life changes, you know, and I truly believe there's power to, if you speak it into existence, there's some power behind that.
Mm. Yeah.
If you make a commitment that you have alignment with God, the people that you love around you and their support, and you declare something, it's almost impossible to not have success.
Almost impossible to fail at that point, huh?
Almost impossible.
Wow. That's so powerful. So powerful. So, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I'm going to end with what I started with. Life is too important to be stuck. Life is too important to be stuck. There is purpose beyond things.
That's so true.
Yeah, there is purpose beyond things. And somebody out there has a gift from God that someone else is waiting for, that desperately needs your gift. And you have to have the faith and courage to put it out there so you impact that person that is desperately waiting for you.
I love that. I love that.
So,
And speaking of gifts, is
yes.
there a gift you have for
I
I
have a
was
couple.
watching today.
Yes, I have a
Okay.
couple. So we have a couple books on Amazon
Mhm.
that we're just going to give to people.
Awesome.
I'll give you a link. One is called Hacking Your Why.
Hacking your why. I like that.
So it really helps you understand why you're doing what it is that you do. And the other one is Hacking Your Perfect Day.
And hacking your perfect day.
So it's an exercise to visualize your perfect day, and it goes pretty deep. And if money was no object and you can do anything you wanted to do, what would your perfect day be? And if it's waking up on the beach, who are you waking up on the beach with? What beach is it? Are you on a chair? Like, visualize it in detail.
So you get specific. It's not
Correct.
just nebulous out there like, oh, my perfect day, I'd be on the beach, I'd play golf, I'd whatever. You're down to the,
Yes.
ooh.
Yeah, because what you'll find is sometimes your perfect day, like I'll tell you, before all the craziness of COVID, I think my wife and I's perfect day probably went something like being home with our kids
Mhm.
and uh, staying home and enjoying it. And that's probably not our perfect day nowadays.
Probably not now, but hey, but you know what? You made your perfect day happen by visualizing it so strong, you shut down the whole
The
world. Look
whole
how
planet.
powerful you are.
No, but I'm telling you, I think the perfect day has shifted just a tad. But it's important to really understand why that perfect day is the way it is, and understand that you have to have God involved in that perfect day.
I love that.
You have to have time for him, with him, together and separately.
Mhm.
And I'm not always the perfect on it, but I really look at what my kids can see,
Mhm.
and we really try to not push them towards, but encourage, right?
Mhm.
And they they're doing very well in their walk with Christ, and I think it's important that we encourage that.
Awesome. Well, those sound like two amazing gifts. So everyone who wants to take advantage of that, make sure you click on the button that's going to be right below this interview for you to take advantage of those wonderful things. I know that I'm going to grab myself both of them as soon as we're done with this. So Ron, thank you so much for being on.
Oh,
So
thank you so much
wonderful
for
to talk
having
to
me.
you.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Thank you.